morning to you all, and I'm really pleased on the first day of the Future Print Virtual Summit to have one of my very special guests, Mr. Simon Belcliffe, with me to share his thoughts and ideas around taking us onwards and upwards out of our kind of the COVID crisis and towards a new idea about how we run our business and where we go with things. So first, Simon, how are you anyway? How's things?
I'm remarkably well, and I have got a much better suntan than I was expecting at this time of year. Usually it's towards summer that I get out of my little box, squinty-eyed, and come into the sunshine, but I've had the joy of being out thinking and being out in the beautiful countryside. So, yeah, I'm absolutely fine. Thank you very much indeed.
Simon, for anyone who doesn't know you, just give us a really quick kind of overview of who you are and what your sort of business philosophy is, because I think that's what we want to pick up on a little bit today.
Well, I'm Simon Belcliffe. I set up a business called Webmart 24 years ago, run on Marxist capitalist principles. And the reason I allude to the Marxist is that we use capitalism to create value and Marxist principles to redistribute the value to the workers that create it. And so I'd always worked at very conventional businesses in the printing corporation, British Printing Corporation, 5,000 people. And I just thought that it can't be the way you run a business. It can't be. And I'd had an epoch change in 1993 when I went out to Kyoto in Japan. I won the prize for being the best salesperson, took my customer out there with Sun Chemicals, and we went out to Kyoto to the NEC Digital Labs in Kyoto and saw a Kindle in 1993, and It blew my mind. It was called the NEC Digital Paperback at the time, but it was digital content. And I just went back and I said to the guys that we've got to have a new media division. And they ummed and ahed and faffed around as they did and said, we're going to stick with the knitting. And I thought, I know what's coming. And it's a huge change. And so I set up Webmart in 96. And we have, as a print management company, starting with web offset, but moving through to all sites of print management and now into marketing services. So it's online and offline, that beautiful blend of digital and physical. And, you know, we've obviously, like everybody in our marketplace, have gone through quite a seminal change. However, the robustness of the business model, because we retain the profits and whatever, we could carry on without getting an order for 2 years. And we'd still be here.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
And this is where, you know, we've always looked at business as more than just making money. The social purpose as much as an economic purpose. It's there to deliver the excellence for individual to maximise their intellectual, emotional and financial returns. And if you aggregate that together into a bag of people called a business, then you can, whatever happens in the world, whatever happens in the big wide world out there, it is a robust business model. And we've never had to borrow any money. And that
very good.
Allows us to be both independent and radical in the way that we can innovate and create things. So we developed our own software, we developed our own strategic alliances with partners of supply side and client side, and it really has proven itself in these very, very difficult conditions that we find ourselves in now. Yeah,
sounds good. Sounds like you've got the builders in today.
Sadly, I am making the most of the opportunity. I am, I'm having some work done on some stonework in my
Oh, yeah, that's right. Stone walls. Because I remember seeing your business in Banbury, isn't it? Or is it Banbury? No, not Banbury. Bicester. And you took me out to the garden, and there's this beautiful dry stone wall, isn't it? You look like you're in the Peaks or something.
Southern Yorkshire Peak District.
Southern Yorkshire Peak District.
It's lovely. So, apologies for any background noise.
So thinking a little bit about this new world, this new normal that we're going to face now, I mean, what do you sense the next 6 months look like for businesses?
I think the next 6 months are going to be a voyage of discovery where we reinvent the approach to how we deliver our products or services to customers. Clearly, it's going to be more digital.
Yeah.
Clearly, people are much more au fait with doing things like this.
Yeah, sure.
And so the modus operandi of working is going to change beyond all recognition. As a consequence of that, unless we can adapt tactically of how we deliver our services to reflect this new norm, you're going to be left behind. And then more strategically, people will start to look at the kind of organisations they want to be part of, and this is where the purpose comes into it. So the purpose that we have as a business is much more holistic than the economic surplus that Milton Friedman and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so go back to that purpose. So just for people that maybe don't necessarily know Sinek or some of these other thinkers that talk a lot about this in successful businesses, just explain in terms of what you're saying here. You're saying that companies, to be innovative, to be business, to be running the businesses effectively, if they have clear purpose, their clear kind of why, then that really helps them and the people in the business and the stakeholders outside the business and the customers to all understand the vision. Is that right?
It resonates on a human level.
Right, okay. Explain that.
What you tend to find, and we're talking about not just sustainability from an environmental point of view, which of course is massively important, but also from a business point of view, because we're going through much more volatile times. So unless you get the ethics right, the ethos of the business, the core values of the business really explicitly stated, and then what you're doing, because
why you do it and what you do. So the what you do is important, but it's also why you do it. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it will evolve. I mean, as we've evolved 5 or 6 times, we've pivoted in the 25 years that Webmark will be going. If I'd have stuck being a specialist web asset print management company, I'd have been dead in 8-9 years. So we've had to evolve. And because if you understand, if you go into most businesses, and I'm lucky that I do at the top level speak to them, an awful lot of businesses don't know why they're in business.
Yeah, of course.
Leaders don't know why you're in business, don't know, what it's about. And they talk about shareholder value sometimes, and they sure talk about the primacy of, making profit. But so what? It's like it fails. If you say, you talk about features, not benefits, if you can say after something, so what? Then you haven't got to the root cause of it. And I think a lot of mission statements are so what? And what you'll tend to find is that certainly with Generation Z, as they call them now, the young people that are coming into the marketplace who are post the generation that has just come through, they really are interested in a whole wider panoply of things than getting paid at the end of the month. And so if you wanted to attract the right talent, and a business is an aggregation of talent, and it's what you get to acquire and retain and develop that talent is the only source of sustainable competitive advantage.
So we'll pick up on that in a moment in terms of the talent you recruit, because I think that's valid. But that point you made, I was reading some research recently where they were saying 20 to 30-year-olds, something like 65-70% of them now, in terms of the consuming behaviour, are much more concerned about where the products, the vision the company who sell them something have. So that they're ethical, that they do what they say they're doing, that they're kind of,
absolutely.
There's an honesty there, there's a trust there. So that younger generation are absolutely making buying decisions on that issue of purpose.
They are to a degree. And this is where there's a juxtaposition between fast fashion, if you like. The same people who are out there saying, save the whale, are
wearing dresses or
wearing jeans for a weekend and then lobbing it, or leaving
of course
1,000 tents at Glastonbury. So I don't think it's a fully formed thing, but I do think that this has been a seminal change of people appreciating the stuff that they've got and not wanting to have infinite amount of anything. I think the generation like me and you who would just get on a flight and just go over and this, that and the other, that's gone. So there's a more, I hope there's a more meaningful and more measured world about to come around. But certainly for where they're going to put their career, they've got to feel proud of it. There'll be some that go for the money and what have you. But to be honest, when you see people of my age, I'm 54, who've got so many noughts in the bank balance and miserable as sin, you think, what's it all about? I mean, what is it about? The book I'm going to...
Tell us.
I'm just doing my Built His book reviews at the moment, and the next one I'm doing is one called Enough, which is a really good book. I'm doing that today.
Who's the author?
This one is Bogle. I can't remember what his name is. It's a very, very good book. I mean,
okay, it's called Enough. I'll have a look at that.
You can see. I'll have a look on Built His book, number 40.
Sounds good.
And I'm writing a book as well about the Marxist Capitalist Manifesto, is the working title, about how you get that purpose through it, and it drives the momentum, a centripetal force. As you get bigger, you get closer together, not pulling further apart. And it's very important to get that kind of instilled at the recruitment stage. And
I was going to say. So we talked about the kind of the philosophy being significant in terms of your customer base and the people understanding that, but also the people you recruit. There's an issue, isn't there, in the UK, that not just in the UK, actually globally, that the print industry is just full of old guys. It's just, do you know what I mean? It's not appealing to young people. So that issue of good talent.
It is when they're in there, but it's a real barrier to get in there, because we're talking about a tangible product, which is, visually rich. It's tactile, and they do. It's authentic. When they spend all their life, here I've got 4 screens at the office. I've got 8 screens. I'm sitting there like this all the time. And when you have an output of something which is physically beautiful and tangible, they really like it. And also, they're talking to marketing people about bringing their ideas to life in a physical form. They're talking about a creative acquisition strategies and retention strategies. So intellectually, it's rich well around it. And we're talking stories as well. Selling now isn't what it used to be like when I was a kid. We're talking stories, and that story is a richness. They feel very proud of that when they're going out to share. We used to call them case studies and stuff, but they're actually not. They're stories of what, and we've just done a training. There are 6 different types of stories you can do, and different ones. You look at the challenge they've got, and you've got a story wrapped around it.
That idea of that kind of storytelling rather than a features benefit sell is clearly true. Yeah,
and challenge your sell as well, which is an important thing which has changed. Which is where instead of listening to the customer, getting along with them in that, you say, why do you do that? And because quite often that consulting piece is really, especially high up.
I think you're right.
We don't tend to have a lot of people who have got a different view. And when I go into people and throughout our organisation, we want to be bringing best practice and ideas, but also just challenging the way that it always has been done.
There's that master-servant relationship between us selling a product to someone as the customer. That sort of master-servant issue is a challenge, isn't it? So, and the point you made, I think, is right. Is this the flip side of that is that actually, particularly when you're talking to senior people, they want you to be brutally honest sometimes and be truthful and clear and actually act in a way as consultants, giving them some insight.
Absolutely, and opening their eyes, because quite often they are sat there with so much pressure on.
Yeah, and information, Simon, isn't it? There's so much information available. How do they? In the old days, as a salesman, you went in with your piece of research or your little brochure, which had a bit of research, and they were like, "Oh, thank you very much. You've given me some insight into my market." Now that information's everywhere. So how do we then reposition ourselves as be able to? I guess it's curate and create, isn't it? It's kind of curating that knowledge.
Well, we're a trusted advisor.
Yeah, good point.
This is. I look at it as
So not salesman, trusted advisor.
I'm a trusted advisor, and I give counsel.
Yeah.
They can take it, they can not, but actually, you've got a different context. It's an outside in. My mortgage doesn't depend on that.
Yeah.
So I've got no vested interest in blowing smoke anywhere. I just want to understand what makes their business and them tick. Understand what it is that makes them passionate, because actually, if they don't love their business, their team doesn't love their business. If the team doesn't love their business,
customers won't.
The suppliers don't. For me, it's a kind of, it's a reactivation of the kind of I suppose quite often it's fanning the embers to get that passion back in there, because they get so wrapped up in, compliance with this and GDPR that and this and the other. You say, well, actually, what is it that makes you happy? And then all of a sudden you start to rebuild.
Yeah. So go back to that point about getting good talent, young people to join businesses, and I think we could talk to many print businesses in the UK, and they'd say we struggle to get people. When people come out of university, they don't tend to go, oh, I'd like to go into print. No. They tend to go, I want to go into advertising or design.
To be honest, it's old-fashioned to say we want to go into print. Nobody wants to go into print.
No, of course.
Why would you want to go into print? However, if you want to go into marketing services, if you want to go into understanding data acquisition strategies and client strategies and whatever, that's what it happens to be in a printed form that we do, and that as part of the other things. So it isn't print. To be honest.
So go back to that, knowing that your business does employ a lot of very good people and a lot of very good young people. How have you set about getting those people to come and work for you as a business?
Well, we do it a lot through word of mouth. People bring people who they know,
of course.
And that de-risks it.
So you're saying that people who work for you, if they're happy, they will say to their mates, "Hey, listen, it's great working for these guys. They're a great company."
Or you look at talent. Talent comes in many forms. So I looked in the local newspaper back in the day, and saw that there was some kid had won an enterprise.
Good point.
Kind of thing at 15. So I got in touch with the school, got in touch with his parents. So listen, if you want to,
good idea.
And 5 years later, he joined us.
Yeah.
So I all the way through, and now he's doing fantastically well. And so the future. So
that is talent, isn't it? That's finding talent. It's finding talent.
It really is talent spotting. Somebody who in our pub was really, really good, and. So when she finished her degree, I said, what do you fancy doing? She said, well, I'd like to go to marketing or something. I said, well, just send me a CV and see what it is. And now she's doing a fantastic job as an account, soon to be an account manager with her own portfolio. Because actually, they've got the good core values are the massive thing, though. Don't buy on attitude. We train all sorts of stuff in them. But if they've got intellect, of course, they've got to have have a capability to expand into. So you get them, at the bottom, and they've got plenty of headroom.
Movement,
and they've got to be nice people.
That's true.
I really don't want to work with people I don't like. Being brutally honest, life's too short, and I've done it many times, and I just thought no more. So they've got to be nice people that get on with people and care about people, and they've got to be creative, intellectually and commercially curious.
Yeah, and I was going to say, so if you said, look, I'm looking for people who are creative. How can you work that out fairly quickly that someone's creative? What are you looking for?
They're asking the curious. It's curiosity.
Yeah, okay.
That's the thing.
They're asking questions
through life.
Yeah, right.
You've got to find out things. I mean, nobody's preordained got a career path now. You've got no career, unless you're in the
that's really
men, I would argue it's probably different. So how do you find where the nascent opportunities are and stuff? It's by being commercial, asking why. What is that? How long did you notice that? Who did you use for that? And so what you tend to find, even in the early days, people who ask more questions are the kind of people that will go further, because they're sucking in as much information as they possibly can as quickly as possible, then distilling it and disseminating it, and then just then retaining it, of course. And in the world of AI, and we're coming into the next machine age, which is the number 13 on my book review, which is the second machine age, which is a fantastic book. We are going to be working alongside computers. We're going to be artificially assisted by so the creative mind, the insight, empathy, and strategy are the only four things that humans will uniquely be able to do going forward, because computers will do the rest. The traffic, all of this kind of stuff. So I want people who've got the ability to think creatively, to be empathetic, to be aware of the externalities.
Yes, flexibility and that.
Absolutely. and then all of a sudden they've got a fantastic opportunity within what we call the print industry, but it's a communications industry.
Yeah.
It happens to be in a physical form. So it's interesting. There's a book called Traction, another of the ones that I did. We do a quarterly review, and we were positioning ourselves. I said, well, what do we actually do now going forward? And there's only one person that mentioned the word print in what we do. Of course, it is a huge part of what we do and manage, but it isn't the reason that people. Yeah. Nobody will buy print because they like it. They will buy print, not on the commercial scale anyway, industrial scale. They will buy it because it does a job.
Does something. Mm.
It does a functional job. And our job is to understand, for people that don't buy print, how we can integrate that to deliver what they want to do better. So for me, we're going out, we're into a wide horizon of virgin companies that have never used print as part of their marketing mix, but we can talk in their language. We talk about their digital acquisition strategy, we talk about their data richness, we talk about the segmentation, we talk about the online and offline integration of client journey, the client acquisition and retention, all of the. We don't mention the printing press once.
Yeah.
It will be used to deliver that, but it's a completely different sell.
You create this sort of holistic system so they can really understand what you can do and how you can make changes for them in essence. That's what it is, isn't it? Yeah.
And the more you talk about those things in that level, then the more open people are.
Yeah,
and then you can find out the conversion rates, then you can find out the cost of acquisition. Clients, you can then, because then you're a partner. You're not the client-supplier relationship. You're a peer-to-peer. And that's where.
I think that's right. And they'll respect you. You respect them. It's that sort of mutual relationship, isn't it? It's exactly what you said. So thinking a little bit more specifically about that word, the print industry. Do you sense that things are going to change in the next 6 months, 12 months? Will there be segments that are finding it really difficult to kickstart, if you like? What's your view? Obviously, all the research at the moment is saying that packaging's been doing really well out of this crisis. But I mean, how do you, if you're a commercial printer or if you're a wide format printer, what do you do now? How do you take this forward?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to align your product range to the value delivered. And if you look at the catalogue marketplace, for example, which historically we've been very, very strong in, it's a very different environment. The generic catalogue is probably going to be, carry on that trend to more micro, and more segmented.
Is that what's happening? Sorry, I mean, you should say, because we don't necessarily know this. So within the catalogue marketplace, there's changes occurring that are changes regardless of what's happened recently. It's just ongoing changes.
Well, I'll look at Cook. A Cook or a posh freezer.
Food. Food.
Yeah, pre-prepared food. Fantastic food.
Yeah.
And we started off doing a generic door drop. Millions.
To everyone?
Yeah, to that.
Because their demographic is a certain sort of demographic, isn't it?
Well, it's within a drive time of their stores.
Right, okay.
All that. So it's targeted and geo-targeted. But now we've got 25 different layers of presentation on that same piece.
Okay.
So you look at
it's layering of the.
It's layering of so the volume has gone down, but the value has gone up, and that happened all the way through.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just asked the question: is because that's a traditional form, print, as you said, but is that because we've learnt from the analytics of technology where they recognise that they can target that Simon likes Barnsley Football Club or Fraser likes do you know what I mean? Because that's what's happened is we've kind of noticed that technology does that. Maybe we should do that in more traditional forms.
Well, we noticed it, but we have to take it to our customers.
Right.
We have to explain to them because actually they don't know. But
okay.
So we've gone from an analog litho or web offset product to a digital, fully variable, at high speed, that everyone's different. And that journey wasn't something that you just start with and say, tell you what, instead of doing it that way, do it this way. It needs a lot of consulting. It's not difficult. once you know how. But the client needs to be going on a journey, and then you need that segmentation to look at the return on investment. So because that's what you're talking about. We're not competing with each other in the print industry. We're competing with Google and
of course.
Facebook.
Yeah.
So the market segmentation that we've got there, and the information that we've got, the ROI is the critical thing, the attribution of the ROI. So, how do we know this has done it rather than that? And that's a journey that we've only just started in the physical print industry, as we will call it historically.
So in essence, we're learning from other technologies, in effect,
We have to be at least as good as digital.
Yeah.
We have got certain attributes which are miles better than digital. We know that. However, our Achilles heel at the moment is what's called attribution. There are so many different attribution models, and if you don't know what attribution is in the print industry, then you don't even know who your enemy is. And this is where we need to understand how customers are measuring their ROI, their return on marketing investment, because that's why print has gone down, because we can't deliver that. Now, as soon as we get that, and there are technologies, and that's what I'm working with to deliver, then there is, then all of a sudden we are back in the game.
Because going back to your example of Cook, so obviously, exactly as you said, there's a high-end freezer food that's available through shops. They know their demographic. They are able to segment the branding, the messaging to certain groups. That's going to work, isn't it? It's going to be effective.
Absolutely, but unless you can attribute that,
then
it's difficult. It's propensity modelling, and propensity modelling is not as powerful as straight line attribution. We think, there's a causal effect. And now, bear in mind, we're talking about the print industry. You can see none of us are talking about a Excel Speedmaster and great presses, though they are, or even a Lander press, God help, which are actually coming out of the Phoenix-like, the unicorn status into the real world. But actually, nobody cares. And if I happen, and I'm trying to think, the last time I did mention the type of press that the thing was being printed on, even though I'm selling print every day, in a way. If I brought that up, they go, it's irrelevant.
It doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter. They're so far away from that. They are only concerned with selling more bits of food from their shop.
What this can deliver to them. And so this is where I think, from a sales point of view in the industry that we love, and the product that we love, which is a physical product, but it's only part of.
So we could argue a case that if one of our key takeaways from today is that if you're selling print, you don't need to mention the machine.
Don't actively don't.
Don't mention it.
Have a small bar of soap that you got from your last hotel visit, if you're allowed in hotels, and put it in your mouth every time you mention a type of press that you are going to print this on. Because actually now,
they're not interested.
They're not. They actively aren't interested in it, and you lose all interest. You mentioned that. You talk about the stock and the feel and because those are brand value things. So
got it. Listen, we're kind of coming to the end of the interview. Is there anything, is there any kind of three things you would say, listen, just want people to think about this as they kind of go away from listening to this? Obviously it's going to be challenging for the next few months, for the 6 months, 9 months, whatever, potentially on into the next year. What would you say, key thing, and it could be, it could be anything. If you're running a business and we're talking to a business owner now, what would you say to them about taking on that challenge?
Bring in young talent. Bring in and listen to them and overpay them to what you think. Don't ever look back at how people treated you when you were a young person. The world has moved on, and the trouble is that if we don't, look at that. I mean, my MD is 32.
Okay.
And the archetype of he's been with us for 15, 14 years. So, I mean, again, young talent, bring through and what have you. And redefining the value proposition of WebMart for the future.